from fastest footballers to most emotional moments. Here are the 8 things you didn't know about football. And first off, a guy so fast, defenders have to wrestle him down just to stop him. Adama Traore is known in football for only 2 things: pace and power. And when he hits his stride, he's practically unstoppable. Well, unless you're these defenders. To end this endless hugging, Traore rubs baby oil on his arms so defenders can't grab him. Talk about a slippery customer. But even a well-oiled machine like Traore was only good for number 12. How about a guy so fast, he was forced to reveal the secret behind his blistering pace? Chelsea went all out to try to get a goal against Dortmund, but from a well-defended corner, this happened. Damn, this guy is quick. He ran past the defender at a top speed of 36.5 kilometers per hour.
3, 2, 1, and liftoff.
Skipped past the goaltender like he wasn't there and did a backflip just to rub it in. What the? This dude was so fast that the reporter had to ask him his secret.
Tell me what you eat, because I want to be as fast as you.
I eat a lot of African food, but I have good genetics from my dad, so I think it's a little bit difficult for you to get fast.
Yeah, I know I have some trouble. What's the African food called, so I can look it up?
It's called fufu.
What's it called?
Fufu.
Fufu?
Yes.
From where is that?
Nigeria.
Nigeria. Okay, I'll look up some fufu to start eating.
It's also very good.
No wonder he's that quick. Maybe I gotta try some fufu. But even with a Nigerian secret, Adeyemi is nothing compared to a player so fast, he anticipated the future. Since his breakout year as a wingback at Inter Milan, Achraf Hakimi has built up a reputation as a player who goes up and down the right flank with devastating pace. But perhaps his most impressive show of speed was when it was rumored that his ex-wife didn't get a share of his assets in their divorce case. Hakimi had earlier on moved fast by saving everything in his mother's name. But even such quick thinking is nothing compared to the guy who was the fastest player of the 2022-2023 UEFA Champions League season. Ousmane Dembele is one of the most talented players in the world. Even so that Barcelona's president claims he's better than Kylian Mbappe. But what makes him stand out is his ridiculous speed. Dude is so fast, he makes other players look like they're running in slow motion. Despite his speed, he hasn't been able to outrun the injuries that have threatened his career. And speaking of careers, this next dude was so fast, he ended a legend's career. Mudryk became the most sought-after winger in the world when he announced himself in the UEFA Champions League. Just look at him rip through the Madrid defense again and again and again. But it was on his debut for Chelsea that he took things a notch higher. I mean, faster. Yo, look at this. This dude is dancing around the Liverpool defense like they don't exist. It's speed like this that made Milner end his Liverpool career.
He will not be the last.
Absolutely, you will see an awful lot of this.
But how an even faster guy, that can't have enough of football. No list of the fastest footballers in the world would be complete without this man.
Scorpio.
Alba can break. Decent part. Rooney's got some space to his left. Here is Wayne Rooney. Ronaldo's getting up with him. Rooney is found. Cristiano Ronaldo scores for the second time on the night.
Since he burst onto the scene in 2003, Cristiano Ronaldo has built a reputation as a very fast, and ruthless footballer. But you would expect that after over 800 goals, 260 assists, and 5 Ballon d'Or, he would probably be on a beach somewhere relaxing. But this dude said, nah, you guys can't be having all the fun without me. In a match against Newcastle in 2021, Ronaldo ran at a crazy top speed of 32.5 kilometers an hour at the age of 36. 36?
Not read the script. Sure. He's got 40 yards. He finds Ronaldo. Ronaldo!
At this rate, the man's breaking all the laws of physics. But don't get me wrong, the players up to this point are crazy fast. But even one of the greatest footballers of all time couldn't break into our top 6. Here's the point we turn on the afterburners, because this next guy sprints like he's running from death itself. All the players on this list so far have all been attackers, because everyone seems to forget the guys who chase them down. We all know Antonio Rudiger for his hard tackles, short temper, and silly antics. But what most of us don't know is that this dude is crazy fast.
Rudiger will see that one out.
When chasing down attackers, this dude can hit top speeds of 36.7 kilometers per hour. And with these galloping runs, he's sure got some extra horsepower in his legs. But even a guy like Rudiger is nothing compared to the next guy who's so fast, he was nicknamed a Roadrunner.
They have to ban Roadrunner.
If you're a fan of Looney Tunes, then you probably remember the Roadrunner show. But did you know there's an actual bird named Roadrunner? Yes, a bird. And that thing is crazy fast. These birds are capable of hitting a top speed of 40 kilometers an hour, and Alphonso Davies is capable of giving them a run for their money. Just look at this. Man gave Erling Haaland a 50-meter head start and still caught up with him just before he could take a shot.
Simply wow.
Meep.
The Roadrunner.
And speaking of head starts, this dude made defenders look like they were running backwards. Perhaps the most accurate description of a player with pace and power, Gareth Bale will go down in history as one of the fastest players of all time. He completely destroyed Mikan in the Champions League tie against Inter Milan, but his most iconic show of speed
Bale looking to use his pace. Well, he was taken out of it by Bartra, or tried to, but the referee's played a good advantage. Bale using that pace. Can he finish?
was when he did this against Mark Bartra. He left him chasing shadows, but even a player like Bale couldn't crack our top 3. Fasten your seatbelts, hold on to something, because we're entering hyperspeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts.
Ich muss einfach sagen, ich bin nur dankbar. Sehr, sehr dankbar.
Jetzt macht sein Tor.
Und ich will selber machen. Und macht sie.
Robben! Ein unfassbares Tor.
Robben!
Starting off with this insane acceleration and speed. If you were actively watching football between 2010 and 2017, then you remember Arjen Robben as one of the best footballers in the world. He terrorized defenses with his speed, dribbling, and accurate shooting, and was well known for the famous partnership with Frank Ribery, known as Robbery. But perhaps his most famous heist was when he did this in the 2014 World Cup. Oh my god! How did he do that? Man just turned on the nitrous boost to pick a ball he was never meant to get. This goal was so epic that he had the Spain coach rethinking his life choices. But even a speed monk like this is nothing compared to our next player, who gives defenders only one choice: foul him or watch him run into the distance. Since Mohamed Salah signed for Liverpool, he became the most important player in the team. And having become the club's all-time Premier League top scorer, he'll go down as one of the greatest Premier League players of this generation. But the key to his success has not been his skills and dribbling, but his frightening pace. With the ability to hit speeds of 37 kilometers an hour, there's no way that defender is stopping him. Unless you're Sergio Ramos. But even Salah was only good for number 2.
Go beaten to that by Mbappe. Watch and go. Mascherano won't get near him.
So now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Not only football's fastest player, but a guy many claim could beat Usain Bolt in a race. During a match against AS Monaco in 2019, some people claimed Kylian Mbappe had run faster than Usain Bolt. He clocked a mind-blowing 38 kilometers an hour, which was identified as being faster than Bolt's average speed from his 100-meter world record in 2009. This sounds crazy, but oh my god. When you see Mbappe run, you find it hard to doubt that. Look at his long strides and the instant acceleration from a standing stop. This guy eats up space and is never full. To think of an Mbappe versus Bolt race, that would literally break the internet. But imagine being this fast and your goal is still not counted. What? Let's find out why this and all these tricks are banned from football forever. Starting off with a trick so crazy that it got a player banned for 4 months just because he knocked out the dude executing it. So, Brazilian player Kerlon Moura Souza made a name for himself with his insane seal dribbling skills. In a league match against Atlético Mineiro in 2007, he did his signature move, which infuriated Atlético Mineiro's Coelho, who elbowed Kerlon hard on his face. Everything and everyone exploded on the field right after the elbow. Coelho was slapped with a 120-day ban, which was later reduced to just 5 games. But FIFA wasn't happy with this seal dribble thing, which makes it almost impossible for the defenders to get the ball back in a legal manner. So, they banned it. Now, no matter how cool it looks, you won't see players like Neymar and Ronaldo doing it on the ground. Unlike the next trick, which is completely banned and still almost every single football player has seen adopting it. Yep, you're right. I'm talking about this. The annoying, irritating habit of players where they just pretend to be fouled, lay on the ground, break dancing, or act their way to win Oscars just to get free kicks, penalties, or advantage over the opposition. But guess what? Diving is basically cheating, and if you get caught, well, I would say things might not go as you would like them to go. Neymar, famous for his exaggerated reactions, was booked for diving and given a red card against Strasbourg while representing PSG. So, suspension, yellow, or red card is what you might get served in an official football match. But hey, we're just getting started, and this list is going to move even more crazier. Coming back, at least a player fakes an injury when diving, but in the next trick, there's no faking, because it might actually land a player in the hospital. Okay, so this is Marco Verratti. And what has he done to get a yellow card? Wait a minute. What has just happened here? Let's watch someone else do it. Here, we have Ivan Perisic, and here he goes. Oh, what? Booked? For what reason? So, you probably already know that a player cannot back pass the ball to his goalkeeper. But some players found their way around this rule by heading the ball back to the keeper.
What the hell?
Well, FIFA wasn't going to let anyone mess with their back pass rule, no matter how insanely amazing the trick was. So, to say that FIFA was mad would be an understatement. So they brought out the big book of their laws and explicitly said this: while the ball is in the air and you pass it with your head back to the keeper, it's acceptable. But if the ball's on the ground, whether you head it back on all fours or by flicking the ball up and then heading it back, big no-no. It's banned. Sounds crazy, right? It's nothing compared to what I have for you at number 1, so you better keep watching. Next up is an insane football skill that you'll see street players to YouTubers to professional athletes performing. Norwegian right back Jan Gunnar Solli performed this trick where he got the ball under his shirt in an attempt to skip past the challenge of Degerfors Lowell Ismail and got booked. Now, this might be the go-to move of many football players, and why shouldn't it be? Flicking the ball and trapping it inside your shirt looks great. But in an official match, on the ground, during the minutes, well, a player can attempt a shirt catch. Of course he can, but not without getting booked. Well, FIFA says that the shirts of the players are an extension of their arm, making it a foul to trap the ball inside the shirt. Busted, right? Now, if a player doesn't want to look like an overeaten uncle on Thanksgiving in the field, he should just avoid doing this. Same goes for neck stall. Now, this is not an easy thing to do, nor is it a legal thing to do. You might have seen many players doing this during warm-up matches where they kick the ball up in the air and trap it on their necks. Looks amazing, right? Nice. Well, wait till a player comes and hits you right on your neck to get the ball. And this is exactly why neck stall is banned. And before moving on to our top 3 picks of the video, we have a trick which is banned for all the right reasons. Catching the ball in your knees and running with it trapped in your legs? Wait, what? It's almost the same as picking the ball in your hands and running with it, which automatically makes football not football. Okay, that didn't come out right. But prepare to be booked and stopped right in your tracks if you ever try to do running knee locks in an official match. But there's a good chance that you play in the streets just like me, and we are good to go with it. Buckle up now. Time for my top 3 picks. Just so you know that only the craziest of tricks and bans have made it here. Ronaldo. Look how he attempted this incredible trick to perfection during his training. Let him try doing this in a game, and he'll be out in no time. Either after being tackled by an opponent or by the referee for using an illegal trick. Let me tell you why. Head stall is regarded as disrespectful to the opponents and unsportsmanlike overall. Just like neck stall, seal dribble, and low headers, there's a strong chance of getting kicked, elbowed, or hit in the head if an opponent tries to take the ball from you. So, a big no-no. Although, some match officials might just let players get away with a head stall sometime. Our next trick got Neymar a yellow card, is considered banned across the world, and no one exactly knows why. They say it's showboating. I say it's game at its finest. But what do I know? But wait, hear me about the ban at least. So, remember that time when Neymar was tackled in a match against Strasbourg? Guess what? He didn't like it. And what did he do afterwards? This. Isn't this the most peaceful, most badass way of asking someone to stay in their effing lane? But FIFA just straight up banned this fabulous trick. I mean, it's not explicitly illegal, but the referee can book you for it. In a match against Montpellier in 2020, the Brazilian legend was actually given a yellow card for simply existing and doing this. Everybody enjoyed it, except the match official, who saw this trick as an act of showboating and thus deemed it necessary to show Neymar a card. Even he was taken aback. So, all in all, this caused some serious controversy in the football world, but as of now, Rainbow Flick is considered banned. But even this trick is nothing compared to how insane our #1 trick is, and how insanely stupid it is to ban it. So, what's the biggest problem in attempting a free kick? Hitting the ball into the net, right? Well, some genius players from Coventry City executed this in 1970 to score against Everton FC 3-1 in an English league and solve the problem. The trick is called donkey kick free kick, and it involves one player elevating the ball with a donkey kick and the other striking it toward the net. Great, right? Well, this is what FIFA had to say about using this trick.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Now, I get that these bans were crazy, but nothing's crazier than this save. And it's not even in the top 5 best saves in football history. And first off, an insane double save from one of the most underrated goalkeepers of all time. In what would have been the craziest own goal we've ever seen, this defender gave his goalkeeper very few choices. But Gregory Coppet said, nah, and turned into a flying Frenchman to pull off this incredible save. And speaking of men who can fly, this next goalkeeper wanted to become the next Superman. The Sevilla players thought they had scored a brilliant goal against Barcelona, but Ter Stegen suspended himself in mid-air to make this crazy save. Damn, I didn't know humans could fly. But I'm sure this next goalkeeper watched this and was like, I can do better. James Maddison had just played the perfect free kick and was running away to celebrate. Then Aaron Ramsdale ruined everything by doing this. He had no right stopping that. No wonder legendary goalkeeper Peter Schmeichel called it the best save he's seen in years. But still, that was a save from far out, unlike this next one, which was from point blank. Erling Haaland might be one of the deadliest strikers in the 18-yard box, but he received the biggest shock of his life in this match against Man United. After a cross had found him just 2 meters away from an empty net, Andre Onana shocked the world by pulling off this save. For a goalkeeper who's conceded 83 goals this season, that's the save of a lifetime. But I'm sure that Onana would sacrifice everything to be as good as this next goalkeeper. In the 1996-97 Premier League season, Newcastle and Manchester United were battling it out for who would become champion. With 4 points separating them, both teams knew a match between them would decide who would win the league. So when that day came, Peter Schmeichel had only one thing on his mind: to stop any ball from entering his net. Newcastle kept attacking, but Schmeichel's incredible saves equally matched each shot. With the pressure at its highest, the Newcastle players finally realized the game was over when Schmeichel did this. United later won the game and the league is mind-blowing. But despite his heroics, the save was only good for number 16, because coming up in our top 3 is a goalkeeper who made not 1, not 2, but 3 saves in 3 seconds. Before we get there, let's look at one of the best saves in Champions League history. If you've played football at any level, you know that goalkeepers struggle to save a ball headed to the ground. But when you're Peter Schmeichel, there's no such thing as a hard save. Everyone in that stadium must have thought that was a goal. But in typical Schmeichel style, he changed direction mid-air to produce one of the greatest saves in Champions League history.
Not good enough.
But it seems the recipe to being a good goalkeeper is having Peter as a name.
What the hell?
Because this next save was made by another Peter. Having just signed for Chelsea in 2004, Petr Cech was eager to show the world why Chelsea paid a record fee for him.
It's broken for Welbeck. Oh, and Hernandez! Well, how did that stay out? It's a great save. Absolutely blinding.
In a Euro Championship match between the Netherlands and the Czech Republic, Cech finally got the chance to show his skills. Look at that rocket of a shot. It should have been a goal. The replay shows Cech somehow pushed the ball away by extending his fingertips. This save was decisive as the Czech Republic went on to win the game. But even acrobatics like this is nothing compared to the save made by a guy who isn't even a goalkeeper. In an intense match between Liverpool and Man City, Salah thought he had finally gotten the chance to put the ball in the net. But as the ball was about to cross the line, Walker came out of nowhere and did this. Damn, this guy has to be the biggest hater. He was willing to break his back just to stop Salah from scoring. For a guy who wasn't even the goalkeeper, that's insane.
Oh, he saved it!
Al, did you volunteer or were you chosen?
I think it was a little bit of both. I try and sometimes banter the keepers in training, telling them to catch it and stuff, but as I found tonight, sometimes you do have to take 2 touches.
But even this? Nothing compared to this save. It can't even be made on FIFA. If you've played the FIFA game, or FC 24, whatever they're calling it now, then you know that a finessed shot from the edge of the box is practically unstoppable, let alone in real life. But on this day, Barcelona goalkeeper Ter Stegen didn't care about any rules. Isco received the ball at the edge of the Barcelona box and unleashed one of the most beautiful finessed shots you'll ever see. Then Ter Stegen spoiled everything by doing this. We feel your pain, Isco. That's just unbelievable. How does this keeper have reflexes like that? No wonder they call him the Spider-Man. But even those superhuman reflexes are nothing compared to the save that won the 2010 World Cup. The 2010 World Cup couldn't have been any more intense. The vuvuzelas were loud and the game was tied at a boring 0-0. Then, in the 61st minute, Iker Casillas suddenly was one-on-one against an in-form Arjen Robben. But what happened next shocked the entire world. Despite giving to the wrong side, Casillas stuck out a leg to deny Robben a clear goal.
Played through for Robin. This is the chance. Arjen Robben is in. And Arjen Robben has been denied by Casillas. Great miss. A wonderful save.
He keeps his head, he waits and waits.
He couldn't even believe what just happened. And that save proved very important as Spain went on to win the World Cup 1-0 in the final minutes of the match. Speaking of World Cup winning saves, this next goalkeeper denied a football legend his fairy tale ending. People remember the 2006 World Cup final for many things: Italy's mean defense, France's talented attackers, and the infamous Zidane headbutt. But something happened in that game that could have altered the outcome of the match completely. In the 103rd minute, in extra time, Zidane got a free header in the 18-yard box for what was surely going to be a goal. Then, Gianluigi Buffon ruined his happy ending by doing this. How was he able to stop that from such a short distance? I've got so many questions. But this save made sure the match remained tied, with Italy later winning on penalties. I wonder, what if Zidane had scored that goal? We might not have witnessed the iconic headbutt. But even this save was only number 10. Still to come in our top 3 is a goalkeeper who invented a new style of kicking a football. But before we get to that, let's turn our attention to one of the best saves in La Liga history. Iker Casillas has proven himself as one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time. I mean, he single-footedly won the 2010 World Cup for Spain. But before that heroic save, he did something crazy back in 2009. In a match between Sevilla and Real Madrid, he did this. Oh my goodness! That has to be one of the surest goals you'd ever expect a player to score. But somehow, Casillas leapt like a salmon going to mate and made an unbelievable save. But unlike Casillas, this next goalkeeper turned from zero to hero by making a gravity-defying save. Having conceded an embarrassing free kick goal in the 2002 World Cup, David Seaman was heavily criticized, and many even suggested he retire from the sport. But Seaman was having none of that, and chose the perfect game to shut his doubters up. In his 1,000th professional game, his team Arsenal were barely hanging on to their 1-0 lead when a corner kick turned into complete chaos.
Plenty of aerial power in there for the Blades. But can they find a cutting edge?
Crazy! How was he able to adjust his body and do that? What a way to silence your enemies. But even in this madness, it's nothing compared to this goalkeeper who made a save without looking at the ball.
Now this one might surprise you. You see,
Ben Amos might not be a popular goalkeeper, but if you're a fan of incredible saves, you gotta see this. In a match against Shrewsbury Town, Stefan Payne had already dribbled past the defender and goalkeeper with a feint. As he was about to roll the ball into an empty net, this madness happened. Oh my God! He wasn't even looking at the ball or the player, but he knew the right time to dive. Should we call this luck, or do you think he actually meant to do it? Either way, this guy's reflexes might be on par with the Flash.
It's not.
And speaking of quick reflexes, check out this save by Jordan Pickford. When Everton clashed against Chelsea at Goodison Park, Jordan Pickford got lucky when a shot hit the post and deflected out. But instead of lying down on the ground, he got back to his feet like a cat to make this save.
It's into the penalty area though. Mason Mounts off the post. And then brilliant from Jordan Pickford.
To think he hit his rib on the post and got stuck in the net, you gotta stand up and applaud him, just like his fans. But even that sacrifice is nothing compared to a goalkeeper saving a shot that would have entered the net 99 out of 100 times. Manuel Neuer is arguably the greatest goalkeeper ever. A quick search on YouTube of his greatest saves will clear any doubts you might have. This man has made some amazing saves in his career, but one thing he did against Italy is just breathtaking. Imagine you're an Italian fan watching the game, then out of nowhere, an almost certain goal falls to your player, and then the opposition goalkeeper does this. This is just madness. He had no right to stop that ball. And to think Germany was already up 3-0. Talk about a guy that stands on business. But even that ruthlessness only made number 5, because coming up in our top 3, a goalkeeper who turned into Usain Bolt just to stop his opponent from scoring. But before then, let's take things up a notch, starting with the best goalkeeping performance in a Champions League final. Having lost the 2018 Champions League final to Real Madrid, Liverpool came into the 2022 Champions League final with revenge on their minds. But little did they know they were about to face the greatest one-man wall to ever exist. Liverpool kept on attacking Real Madrid, desperate to score a goal. But each time they tried, Thibaut Courtois was there to stop them. Sadio Mane thought he'd scored when he unleashed a thunderbolt from the edge of the box, only for Courtois to do this. As if that wasn't enough, he blocked Salah's shot and made 9 saves in the match. Real Madrid went on to win the match 1-0 thanks to Courtois' defying saves. He finished the campaign having made 59 saves with an 80.6% save rate. No wonder a meme of him having multiple hands like Doctor Strange went viral. But even sorcery like this is nothing compared to a goalkeeper who made not 1, but 3 saves in 3 seconds. Since signing for Atletico Madrid, Jan Oblak has been instrumental to Diego Simeone's haramball tactics. In a match against Bayer Leverkusen, Oblak showed just how good he was by doing this. He blocked 1, 2, and 3 attempts to score, and somehow the ball still didn't enter the net. Because of this insane energy needed to do this, he passed out after pulling off the craziest triple save in football history. But not even Oblak would have been prepared for what this next goalkeeper did, because now that we're down to just 2 picks, things are about to get crazier. In what was supposed to be an inconsequential friendly match between England and Colombia, René Higuita single-handedly turned it into an unforgettable memory. Renowned for his crazy and high-risk style of goalkeeping, he was just a joy to watch for the neutrals. But not even Octopus Paul could have predicted what happened next. As a harmless cross came into the box from an England attack, Higuita decided to do this instead.
Redknapp. Goodness me, have you ever seen anything like that in your life?
He swung his legs mid-air to create what is known today as the scorpion kick. A move the streets will never forget. But even that display of athleticism was only good enough for number 2. Now's the moment we've all been waiting for, the craziest save in the world.
Joe, would you like to take a step forwards? Ladies and gentlemen, on his 300th appearance for Manchester City, Joe Hart has broken a record. 4 Premier League Golden Gloves. Congratulations.
Manchester derbies have always been filled with a lot of drama. 2 teams from the same city giving everything for bragging rights. But nothing could have prepared the fans for what was about to happen in this 2008 derby. Manchester City were desperate for a goal and sent every player, including the goalkeeper, to attack a corner kick. But as the corner was well defended, Man United suddenly found themselves with an empty Man City goalpost to shoot at. But in a crazy turn of events, the Man City goalkeeper, Joe Hart, turned into a hybrid version of Usain Bolt and did this. Incredible! 1 second he was in Man United's half, the next second he was stopping a goal with insane speed and agility. He chose the wrong sport. Still, goalies are supposed to save goals. I get that. But referees? What happens when referees block a goal? One word: chaos. And first off, a referee who blocked a goal so well, everyone thought he was Virgil van Dijk. The players of Cruz Azul in the Mexico League thought they were about to score a third goal, but the referee shocked everyone by pulling off one of the best blocks you'll ever see in football. Damn, even prime Van Dijk would be jealous of this dude. Unlike this next ref who messed up so badly, it caused a player to collapse. This player in the Swedish league had just scored a beautiful goal. But just as he was about to celebrate, the ref blew the whistle for a goal kick. What the hell? Someone's got to get this guy some glasses. At least he owned up to his mistake. Unlike this next referee, whose error almost cost him his life. This behavior has no place in football, and the players should be ashamed of themselves. But to think this craziness is just number 18? Wait till you see the corruption that happens in number 11. But before then, let's look at this referee, whose silly mistake stopped a team from scoring. This team stole the ball in their opponent's half and immediately launched a counterattack. But the referee ruined everything by mistakenly blowing the whistle. His reaction afterwards shocked the players and fans. Fair play to the ref, they are human after all. And speaking of humanity, this next referee proudly showed what team he supports. Referee Mike Dean played an advantage as Tottenham launched an attack against Aston Villa, but as Tottenham scored the goal, the camera captured him celebrating as if he had just scored it. For a second I thought he was going to knee slide or something. That would have been nuts. But unlike this referee, who was happy his team scored, this next referee stopped an attack just to show a player who's boss. In the final minutes of the PSG vs Nantes match, PSG launched an attack desperate for the equalizer. But just as Kylian Mbappe was about to shoot, something crazy happened behind the scenes. A player collided with the referee and sent him tumbling to the ground. But in a shocking turn of events, the referee kicked the player, stood up, and gave him a red. Wow, I'm speechless. Damn! Unfortunately, the referee got suspended for standing up for himself. But for this next referee, his mistake stopped a player from scoring a certain goal. The atmosphere in the match between Marseille and Galatasaray was electric. After all, two massive European clubs were going head-to-head. Galatasaray went on the attack, but despite the first attempt being blocked by the goalkeeper, the ball still came back to the Galatasaray player. Then this happened. Damn, the referee stood in the way of the player trying to shoot, indirectly buying time for the defenders to recover. But at least his intentions weren't obvious, like this next ref, who deliberately tackled a player. This linesman is funny. He just fouled the player and pretended nothing happened. That's probably a bet with his friends, I guess. But there was nothing friendly with the assist this referee gave to a player in a Copa America game. The Colombian players thought they were playing against 11 men, but what they didn't know was that the Brazilians had secretly recruited a 12th man.
mudanças que fez, né? É isso aí. Olha a bola pra área, o toque!
This ref gave a beautiful pre-assist and waved play on as the Brazilians went on to score a goal. But at least he didn't celebrate like Mike Dean. And speaking of assists, this next ref helped the other team by preventing a player from scoring an empty netter. In football, when a goalkeeper grabs a ball and keeps it back on the floor, the game automatically continues. But on this day, the referee decided to rewrite the rulebook. So, the referee waved play on, and then the goalkeeper dropped the ball and was pulling his socks. Spotting this error, Liverpool's Cody Gakpo rushed to score an empty net. But as he was about to shoot, the ref blew the whistle. The question is, why did he do that? The goalkeeper wasn't fouled or anything. Is this a mistake, or was it something more questionable? I guess we'll never really get the answer. But speaking of corruption, I'm sure a lot of Barca fans felt angry by the decision this next referee made. El Clásicos have always been fiercely contested matches, but Madrid has Barca's number lately. On this match day, though, Real Madrid also had the referee's number. Watch this. Did the ball cross the line? Did the goalkeeper stop it? Or did the referee stop Barcelona from scoring a goal? These are questions that goal line technology could have answered, but amazingly, La Liga doesn't have goal line technology. To say this is embarrassing is an understatement, but not as shocking as hearing Barcelona fans complain about corruption. And speaking of robberies, Brazil fans will never forget what this next referee did in the 1978 World Cup. In the 90th minute of the match between Brazil and Sweden, Brazil got one last chance to swing in a corner kick to potentially score a goal. But just as Zico rose to head the ball, the referee blew the final whistle and ended the match. That's just crazy. Brazil had scored, but because the referee blew the final whistle, it didn't count. What was he thinking? Is this another questionable case, or was something else at play here?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Someone get this referee to explain himself. And since we're talking about blowing whistles too early, this next referee took it to a whole new level. With Tunisia desperately trying to get an equalizer against Mali, the referee looked at his watch and decided to end the game 5 minutes before the end of normal time.
85 دقيقة يا حبيبي يا حبيبي يا حبيبي.
I've got so many questions. What was going through his head? Some say it was because the game was boring. Others say he got a text from his girl saying she was home alone.
What's up, babe?
Hey, you should come over. I'm home alone.
But I'm sure he was just rushing home to go subscribe to this channel. Don't be like him. Hit that button right now. Anyways, whatever happened that day, the Mali players gained a new teammate. But I've got a question. How does Real Madrid get away with so many questionable referee calls? Is there something they're not telling us? Take a look at this. In the Champions League semi-final against Bayern Munich, the Bavarians scored a stoppage time equalizer. Or so they thought. The linesman raised his flag, the referee blew the whistle, and VAR agreed. It was offside. But the replay, on the other hand, showed that the Bayern player was onside.
Nasser Mazraoui is onside, with Antonio Rudiger backing him up. As you can observe, the ball wasn't passed to Matthijs de Ligt, whom we initially thought was offside. It was passed to Nasser Mazraoui, who was in line with Real Madrid's defender Antonio Rudiger at the time the cross was made.
So, were the officials deliberately helping Real Madrid? Or is there some sort of black magic that Real Madrid have? Maybe this next referee might tell us why he and his colleagues cancel obvious goals. Frank Lampard thought he'd scored a crucial goal against Germany, but the referee had other plans. Everyone saw the ball go in. The replay showed the ball had gone in. But the referee turned a blind eye to it and continued the game. At least he pretended not to see the goal, unlike this next referee who saw the ball go in but still disallowed it. In an almost identical situation to the Brazil-Sweden match, Real Madrid was pushing for a winning goal. Just as Jude Bellingham was about to head the ball, the referee blew the final whistle. Their celebrations instantly turned into sorrow as the goal was disallowed. To make matters worse, the referee gave Bellingham a red card for complaining. To think, this one's only number 5. What happens at number 1 will have you laughing out loud. But before then, let's look at a referee who turned into prime Ronaldo. The team that conceded the penalty thought the referee was there to officiate. Little did they know, he was their opponent's secret weapon. Just look at this. What's even more crazy is the fact that the goal was awarded. To be honest, this referee's a clinical goal scorer, with an ice-cold celebration to match. But there was nothing chilled about this next referee's decision-making. At the end of the first half, the ref awarded a free kick to this team. But after the player took the free kick and scored, the referee disallowed the goal and blew for halftime instead. I'm confused. Is this some kind of sick joke or something? You must be thinking this referee is corrupt. But wait till you see what the next guy does. In the match between Flamengo and Santa Fe, the Flamengo players thought they had scored the winning goal in the final minutes of the game. But the ref said, "Nah, this is my show." Then went on ahead to blow the final whistle instead. Damn, doing this in Brazil is risky business. But unlike this referee who hates goals, this next one took goal-scoring matters into his own hands. Feet. It can get irritating when football players are playing badly. Sometimes you just wish you could show these players how it's done. This referee saw the players messing around and decided he'd had enough. So he ran into the box like a proper striker and showed the players how to score a goal. To be fair, the referee has a striker's killer instinct. Maybe he chose the wrong profession. Now, it was all great, but wait till you see this, this, and this. Yep, I'm talking about football cards, but they keep getting crazier. This dude scored one of the easiest goals ever, but then celebrated like it was the goal of the century. Unfortunately, the referee was having none of that and gave him a straight red card. But this next ref was in the mood for some fun. While these two players were contesting a ball, the referee got in on the action by tackling both guys to the ground. But bizarrely, this happened. Fair play to the ref for having a little fun, because I can't help but imagine if this happened in the Premier League, but not all players are fun to be around, just like this next dude. With West Brom losing 3-1 to West Ham, Mulumbu got very angry when the referee didn't blow for a foul on him. So instead of complaining, he chose to take matters into his own hands. Feet.
Displeasure there from Yusuf Mulumbu, and it's a red card. Mulumbu kicking the ball there at Gary O'Neill.
I know, I shouldn't be laughing at a red card, but this is funny. Most referees dish out red cards when players misbehave, but others take a more honorable approach. When the referee was running towards the player, he thought he was about to be sent off for an early bath. But in a shocking turn of events, the referee brought out his cards and asked the player to choose one. Who knew eeny, meeny, miny, mo could be this effective? Now that's a way to resolve a dispute. Unlike this next player who took motivation a little too far. After seeing his team concede a late equalizer against West Ham, Stoke City forward Ricardo Fuller walked straight to his captain Andy Griffin and slapped him.
Walks over to him and just gives him a slap. I mean, it's just...
I wonder what he said to get him this upset. But the referee gave him a chill pill by sending him off to the locker room. Sometimes all it takes is a gesture to create chaos. In 2023, AS Roma came up against Monza in a Serie A match. The stakes were high, the tackles were aggressive, and the coaches kept shouting at the ref every chance they got. But just as the game was about to end in a boring 0-0 draw, El Shaarawy scored this screamer.
Zalewski. So many bodies in the middle. Christensen, one of them. Asmoon! And now El Shaarawy!
But instead of Jose Mourinho celebrating with his players, he turned to the Monza bench and did the crybaby gesture. When asked why he did that, Mourinho said the Monza bench insulted them during their last match, and they tried to influence the referee in this game. But even Mourinho's pettiness was only part of the first 6 videos on this list, because still to come in our top 3 is a football match that had a record 20 cards given out. But before we get there, let's look at a player who turned his opponent into a shooting target. Didn is considered by many to be the greatest free kick taker of all time. Quick search of his free kicks on YouTube will clear up any doubts.
He's just unstoppable.
But on this day, Didn took target practice a little too seriously. With the opposition keeper deliberately wasting time, Didn decided to put an end to his antics by doing this. I understand the frustration, but that's a red card every day of the week. Nonetheless, you have to applaud that goalkeeper for excellent acting. He got hit on the arm but was grabbing his face. Speaking of cheating, Mourinho and his player got sent off for one of the biggest robberies in football history. In a match between Real Betis and AS Roma, Betis scored one of the clearest handballs you'll ever see.
I take that one correctly, Borja, but that's not a bad effort.
But instead of cancelling the goal, the referee pointed to the center to confirm it. The Roma captain complained to the ref and got a red card for his efforts. Seeing this, Mourinho ran onto the pitch to confront the referee, and he got a red card too. Wow, this ref thought it was a volleyball match. Speaking of handballs, this next player turned into Manuel Neuer just to stop a goal. With the Bournemouth goalkeeper off his line, the Norwich striker thought he was about to score. But Lewis Cook pulled off an incredible fingertip save to deny him.
Campbell plays the ball forward. Cookie might get there for the goalkeeper. No, Ramsdale does well to smother it. The loose ball's fallen for Didn. Oh, he's in the post. But was that handball by a Bournemouth player?
Wow, just when you thought you'd seen it all. To be fair, that was an amazing save. He should just consider being a goalkeeper at this point. Just like when Luis Suarez accepted his true calling. In the 120th minute, Ghana got a chance to become the first African team to reach the semifinals of the World Cup. But just as the ball was about to go in, Luis Suarez did this. Ah, man, he turned into a goalkeeper to deny Ghana a piece of history. And then celebrated when they missed the penalty. No wonder he became one of the most hated footballers of all time. When asked about that handball, he had this to say.
Porque íbamos a perder, si no hacían el gol no íbamos a perder. El jugador de Ghana, yo siempre dije, se querra el penal, no es mi culpa.
He really is a supervillain. Even Loki from the Marvel Cinematic Universe couldn't shapeshift like this next guy, though.
You are all of you beneath my
You know Arsene Wenger, the guy Arsenal Football Club was named after. Yeah, that guy. Well, in his 1000th game as manager, he went up against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. The match started very badly for his boys as they conceded inside the first 5 minutes.
Anto's onside here. Samuel Anto!
Not long after, they conceded the second goal, but just as Hazard was about to add a third, this happened.
And here's Fernando Torres, and he's teed up Hazard! Oh, it was almost...
I thought Suarez was crazy, but my word, Oxlade-Chamberlain might have outdone him there. But what happened next will have you rolling on the floor, because the ref brought out a red card, but instead of giving it to Chamberlain, he gave it to Gibbs. When Chamberlain tried to tell him he was the culprit, the referee told him, "Shut up, Walcott." That referee needs some glasses. But looking at their pictures together, you could understand why he was confused. But not every player tries to cheat. For some, being cheeky gets them in trouble. The ref was looking for the player who took his burger in the locker room. And then Cesc Fabregas interrupted this serious meeting by kicking the ball straight to the head of a West Brom player. The ref and players completely forgot about their argument and headed for Fabregas like a pack of wild dogs. Damn, it wasn't that deep, guys. Unlike this player who wanted to injure the referee so bad. Officiating in any league in South America can be an extreme sport, but getting a female referee to officiate there is dangerous business. Angry that the referee gave him a red card, this player rushed her like a UFC fighter trying to finish off an opponent. But thankfully she stood her ground. To think he would have knocked her out if he had the chance. This guy shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a football pitch, but even that embarrassing behavior didn't crack our top 10. From here on out, the cards get even crazier, starting with a mistake so shameful, the referee had to resign. Croatian footballer Simunik couldn't believe his luck in the World Cup match against Australia. The referee gave him a yellow card for slapping an opponent in the face, then another yellow card for fouling an opponent. He got a third yellow for talking back at the ref before being sent off. Wait a minute, I thought 2 yellows equals 1 red in football. How did the refs miss that?
Damn!
He obviously wasn't good at math. Now imagine if the players had yellow card indicators like they do on FIFA. That would be epic. But the referee's mistake was so embarrassing, he had to resign. Look, everyone messes up. It makes it kind of a sad story. But for this next ref, his actions make him one of the most hated refs in history. With over 90,000 fans jumping and screaming in the Camp Nou, Arsenal were on a mission to pull off a major upset against Barcelona. The game was tied at 1. Van Persie was flagged offside after receiving a pass from a teammate. 1 second after the ref blew his whistle, he shot the ball towards the Barcelona goal.
Fabregas.
The referee saw this, gave him a second yellow card, and sent him off the pitch. What just happened? He couldn't believe it. Like, how is this offense worth a red card? Well, despite telling the ref that the noise made him not hear the whistle, the ref stood by his decision and asked him to leave. With the extra man advantage, Barcelona scored 2 more goals, and made this one of the most controversial bookings in the history of the Champions League. Angry about what happened, Van Persie had this to say.
My opinion, it was a total joke, the sending off, because how can I hear his whistle with 95,000 people jumping up?
1 second between the referee whistling and you striking the ball.
But this way, 1 second from his whistle till my shot is just a joke.
Some referees will get on your nerves, and you begin to wish bad upon them, which is why I wasn't surprised when I saw this. I know I'm not supposed to laugh at this, but the referee fell like the president of... Well, never mind. But not all encounters with referees end in violence. Some players are more than willing to help them out. Just like this next guy. This referee was trying to book a player after getting advice from the VAR, but he mistakenly dropped the yellow card on the ground. Seeing this clumsiness, the opposition player decided to help the ref do his job. I can imagine the kind of power that player must have felt dishing out a yellow to his opponent. But it doesn't always end up well when refs and players switch roles. Keeping up with the speed of Kylian Mbappe is a handful for any defender, let alone a referee. So while this ref was trying to catch up to PSG's attack, he collided with Diego Carlos, which sent him tumbling. His reaction after he got up shocked everybody. Damn, who knew refs could beef like players? To make matters worse, he stood up, gave Carlos a red card, and went about his business like nothing happened. But an investigation afterwards showed that Carlos pushed the ref by mistake, and he had no right to kick at him or send him off. Karma struck almost immediately as the referee was banned for 6 months. But I feel bad for anyone trying to piss off Eric Cantona. Let's go back to 1995. After being sent off in a match against Crystal Palace, Eric Cantona was quietly heading toward the changing rooms. Then, a Crystal Palace fan decided it was the perfect time to run his mouth. Cantona's reaction to this was something straight out of a martial arts movie. You only see moves like that in the UFC. But when he was asked about it, he had this to say.
When the seagulls follow the trawler, it's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you.
I can't lie, this man's a legend. But I don't know what's crazier, getting kicked by Cantona or being headbutted by another legend. Zidane came to the 2006 World Cup with one thing on his mind: do everything possible to win. And at 34, he knew this was his last chance to cement his status as the greatest midfielder of all time, so he played every game like his life depended on it. But just as he was about to overcome his last challenge, the devil came in the form of Marco Materazzi. The Italian defender kept getting on his nerves by talking badly about his family, so when Zidane had enough, he did this. Looking at him going past the World Cup trophy after being sent off was really heartbreaking. He wasn't supposed to be there. He came out of retirement just to captain his country one more time. He looked destined to win the World Cup, but still gave it all up in defense of his family.
Une fois vous essayez de partir, c'est ce que je fais. C'est des mots, comme je vous dis, qui me touchent au plus profond.
Vous pouvez les redire ou ce qui a été dit?
Avec la maman, la sœur, c'est des mots très durs, quoi. Donc vous l'écoutez une fois, vous essayez de partir, c'est ce que je fais.
Now that's what you call a legend. And now that we're going into our top 3, things are about to get crazier. I'm talking stripper crazy. Although Juventus were winning 1-0 against Atalanta, Massimiliano Allegri was furious that a ref gave him a red card. But instead of going to the stands, he started taking off all his clothes, screaming and kicking anything he could see. Now that's what we call having a temper. Speaking of being angry, this next referee definitely woke up on the wrong side of the bed. When Portugal came up against the Netherlands in the 2006 World Cup, everyone expected nice goals, insane skills, and a beautiful spectacle. But what they got instead was a WWE Royal Rumble match. The players kept fouling each other. The coaches were having a go at themselves, and the whole match was just chaos. But one person remained consistent in all this: the ref. He kept dishing out card after card and didn't let anything slide. At the end of the match, he'd given out 16 yellow cards and 4 reds. The only regret I have is that Pepe didn't play in this match. Imagine what he would have done. But now's the moment we've all been waiting for. The craziest card ever given. In a match between two Premier League teams, Newcastle United were being embarrassed by Aston Villa. But instead of taking the fight to them, Lee Bowyer and Kieran Dyer began to exchange blows in the middle of the game.
Lee Bowyer and Kieran Dyer suddenly were at each other's throats. It's all going horribly wrong for Newcastle United.
I've seen a lot of crazy things, but this is right up there. Do you know how bad it is for the opposition to be the peacemakers? To put an end to this madness, the referee sent both players off the pitch. When asked about what happened that day, Dyer said this:
I cannot believe he is throwing punches in front of 52,000 people. What the are you doing, Bo?
That's Lee Bowyer and Kieran Dyer.
He's like, f***ing hell, you never passed me the ball, f***ing da-da-da pin. So I'm like, f*** off. And he's like, what? And I went, the reason why I don't pass you the ball is because you're f***ing shit. And as soon as I said that, the eyes just like, right, it was like something just switched.
And then that fighting broke out between two Newcastle players. They're fighting amongst themselves.
And I didn't think you could get sent off for fighting your teammates because it's unprecedented.
It's a red card for Dyer. Well, there's going to be a red card for Bowyer as well. Yes, that is. Absolutely. Astonishing scenes here, Jim. Unbelievable incident.
All this drama reminded me of the time when a goalie tried to fool Ronaldo. Was he successful? Let's see that in the craziest penalty mind games in football history. First off, let's talk about that time Martinez tricked Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes. When Cristiano Ronaldo returned to Man United, Bruno Fernandes wasn't ready to give up his duties just yet. So when Man United got a last-minute penalty against Aston Villa, the goalkeeper tried to play tricks by telling CR7 to take it.
I did say we would see who would be taking the penalty for Manchester United, whether Fernandes or Cristiano Ronaldo.
But being a master of mind games, Ronaldo let his boy Bruno take it.
Bruno Fernandes!
But he embarrassed the GOAT by shooting the ball into space.
Whoa. Puts it into orbit. Mission abort. Repeat. Mission abort.
At least Ronaldo kept his pride intact. Unlike Ederson, who tried messing with Saka and got burnt. When Saka stepped up to take a penalty against City, Ederson thought he could mess with his head by pointing to the direction he wanted the ball played. But when you want to play mind games, you gotta put your money where your hand is. So it's safe to say mind games aren't Ederson's strong point. Unlike Salah, who got into the head of his teammate Mane. 5 minutes into the 2021 AFCON final, Egypt conceded a penalty against the Teranga Islands of Senegal. But just as Sadio Mane was getting ready to play the spot kick, his teammate Mo Salah snitched by telling the goalkeeper where he would play it.
And some inside information to Abu Gabal about the penalty.
Angered by this, Mane went to meet both of them and pointed at the spot he was going to play it.
A much bigger penalty now, and it is Senegal who missed the opportunity, and a wonderful save from Abu Gabal again.
But Mane knew he couldn't let this betrayal slide, so when the match went to a penalty shootout, he stepped up to score the last kick that won Senegal the cup.
Saved now. Salah can't bear to watch. Mane.
Damn. Mane gave his teammate hope, only to break his heart at the last second. But for Gian Matinho, Cristiano Ronaldo helped him to overcome his fear of penalties. Matinho missed a crucial penalty kick for Portugal at Euro 2012.
Now can Iker Casillas bail out his Real Madrid club teammate Alonso after his saved spot kick? He can! Moutinho denied!
So when it was time for penalty kicks in the quarterfinals of Euro 2016, he was afraid of letting his country down again. But his captain, CR7, played a sneaky trick on his mind by telling him this.
Anda bater, anda bater, anda. Tu bates bem, perdemos que se foda, anda. Solidariedade, vai, solidariedade. Tu bates bem.
He listened, stepped up, and converted his penalty kick with confidence. Love or hate him, CR7 is a true leader. But his insane mentality had no answers for Diego Alves' mind games. It all started in 2015 when CR7 played a penalty against Valencia. Their goalkeeper, Diego Alves, was trying to put him off by talking trash and pointing to the direction he wanted it played. Ronaldo dunked on him by playing the penalty in the same direction he was pointing. So when the two met in the next match, Alves challenged Ronaldo to round 2 of their duel. He told him, "I dare you to put it to the right." And Ronaldo, being Ronaldo, wanted to show him who's boss. But this time around, Alves dived to the exact spot he pointed and blocked Ronaldo's penalty.
Has to score, really. That doesn't. Diego Alves.
Alves was just trying to outsmart Ronaldo. But for Emi Martinez, his antics made him the most hated man in France. After an entertaining 3-3 draw in the 2022 World Cup final, the game went into penalties to decide who was king of the world. Tension was high, fans were biting their nails, and the fate of the GOAT debate was at stake. But despite all this, Emi Martinez seemed unfazed by the gravity of the whole thing. After blocking Coleman's penalty, he was ready to do anything to make sure Messi won the World Cup. So, when Tchouaméni stepped to take his penalty, he kicked the ball away and kept trash talking. Despite trying to be tough, all that blabbing got into his head and he put it wide. Who knew being a prick could be this effective? No wonder he did a weird dance after it worked. Now that's 6 out of the 25 craziest penalty line games. Wait till you see what Neymar did to a keeper at our number 11 spot. But before we get there, let's take a look at how Rudiger snitched on his best friend. After fighting to a 1-1 draw at the Etihad, the Champions League quarterfinal match between Manchester City and Real Madrid ended in a penalty shootout. Relying on the support of the home fans, Man City were confident they could win the game. But little did they know Madrid had a Judas within their ranks. Before moving to Real Madrid, Antonio Rudiger and Mateo Kovacic were best friends.
Your best friend in football?
My best friend in football is Mateo Kovacic.
So when Kovacic was about to take this penalty kick, Rudiger pointed to the direction he was going to play it.
Deegan now faced. He saved it! Kovacic denied.
Amazingly, Lunin followed his advice and blocked the shot. To add insult to injury, Rudiger was the one who scored the last penalty to win the game for Madrid. Damn. Rudiger not only got the winning goal, but the winning snitch. But betraying your friendship for your team is one thing. Pulling off a dumb strategy that backfires, well, that's a different kind of embarrassing. Kepa thought he hacked a cheat code in saving penalty kicks. He moved to the right-hand side of the goalpost in a bid to trick Van Dijk into playing the ball to his left. But Van Dijk showed him that he was smarter by playing the ball right where he was standing.
Elegant centre-half, Virgil van Dijk to take the next. And Van Dijk left nothing to chance.
Well, for a game that was 0-0 after 2 hours of football.
Talk about being beaten at your own game. But at least he didn't mock his opponents like Joe Hart did. Back in 2012, Joe Hart was in the form of his life. He was literally like a brick wall. He could repel every attack. So when Italy faced England in Euro 2012, Hart was certain that no one would score on him. The Italians and the English played out a goalless draw, and it was down to penalty kicks to decide the winner. Brimming with confidence, Joe Hart stuck out his tongue to try to mock Pirlo as he stood over the ball. He kept moving around to put Pirlo off, but just as he dived to stop the penalty, his ego slowly came crashing down as the Italian pulled off one of the most audacious penalties you'll ever see.
But he knows that really...
Si muoveva molto, faceva dei gesti strani.
And he misses, this country will be taken. Jiggling up and down on the line.
This is Pirlo. Oh, how cheeky is that? The float.
Damn. You want salt with that chip, Joe? Now listen, embarrassing your lousy opponent is cool, but getting into Messi's head? That's not something you see every day. In the 2022 World Cup, the referee gave an imaginary penalty to Argentina after Messi was barely touched. But instead of worrying, Szczesny told his teammates, "Relax, guys, it's just Messi." Seeing the imminent disrespect, Messi put on his game face and was locked in. Unfortunately, Szczesny showed him no mercy and pushed the penalty away. But let's be serious, that was never a penalty. To put it into perspective, listen to what the goalkeeper had to say.
No, I didn't. We spoke before the penalty. I told him I can bet him €100 that he wasn't going to give it. So I've lost the bet against Messi. I don't know if that's allowed at the World Cup. I'm probably going to get banned for it. I don't care right now.
So you bet it?
Pay him either.
You're not going to pay him 100?
No, he doesn't care about €100. Come on.
He has enough.
Yeah, I think so.
Still, Messi might not be the best penalty taker, but Karim Benzema lives for moments like this. Back in 2022, Real Madrid were losing 4-2 in a Champions League semi-final against Man City. With the game almost over, they got a lifeline when the referee awarded them a penalty. Karim Benzema was the club's penalty kicker and stepped up to take it. But there's some backstory here. In the last game they played before this match, Benzema missed 2 penalties because of this crazy mind game by one goalkeeper.
Up steps Benzema, and he saved it!
And he saves it again.
So
naturally, he was pretty low on confidence. So, Man City's goalkeeper thought this was going to be an easy catch. But with the fate of his club in his hands, Benzema did this.
in the semi-final, huge the deficit again. Oh, what about that? He's connected it. He's the coolest man in European football.
He did this after missing 2 penalties. He has ice in his veins. But for Cristiano Ronaldo, his experience with Diego Alves taught him never to fall for tricks again. When Cristiano stepped up to take a penalty for Man United, the goalkeeper wanted to recreate the Diego Alves incident. So he started trash talking, pointing to where he wanted him to play it. But Ronaldo said, "Nah, I'm never making that mistake again."
So he's going to step up.
Now, I'm not going to act like that wasn't cold, but it proves that these goalkeepers will do anything to stop a player from scoring. Just like the time ter Stegen did jumping jacks to mess with Joselu's head. I get that he's trying to distract Joselu, but who told him yoga exercises were the way to do it? After he was done with his comedy show, Joselu played the ball straight down the middle. I bet ter Stegen regrets embarrassing himself like that. But there was nothing shameful about Mbappe's fortune-telling skills. Just as Remy Cabella was about to take a penalty against PSG, Kylian Mbappe pointed the direction he was going to play it. Areola followed Mbappe's advice and blocked the penalty.
Understand Geoffroy Guichard. Cabella steps up, and Areola saves it. Kylian Mbappe is telling Areola which way.
Who knew Mbappe could see into the future? But why predict the future when you could be like Neymar and just ask? I know penalties are serious business, but it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of fun sometimes. When Neymar was about to take this penalty, he asked the keeper to choose which corner he wanted it played. Pointing to his right, the keeper chose to dive in the opposite direction, thinking Neymar was pranking him.
Ah là, vous avez vu le geste de désolation de Lucas Pira.
If only he'd taken Neymar's offer seriously. But even such a nice moment between player and keeper isn't the funniest thing on this list. Getting tricked not once but twice by the same keeper. Well, you're gonna have to wait for our #1 pick for that. Before we get there, let's look at a player who takes mockery to a whole different level. As a goalkeeper, it's always a bad idea to play mind games before a penalty kick, because when it backfires, it usually looks like this. I would have thrown hands if a player did me dirty like that. But that kind of disrespect is nothing compared to a player reinventing the Panenka. We've seen Pirlo and Benzema disgracing goalkeepers with cold Panenkas, but what this guy did, I don't know what that is, but it's either a failed attempt at one, or he just invented a new move.
To give Brisbane the lead again.
Either way, it completely made a fool out of that goalkeeper, which reminds me of the time a Portugal goalkeeper made a fool out of David Beckham. After the Euro 2004 match between England and Portugal got to penalties,
20 minutes of football.
David Beckham came first to take his spot kick, but the Portuguese goalkeeper Ricardo kept trying to distract him. Unfortunately, the goalkeeper's antics were too much for Beckham as he skied the penalty kick. There's no point at looking around on the ground at Beckham. The ball has probably landed on the moon by now. But Ricardo did something even crazier in the shootout. He stopped a penalty without gloves, and then scored the match-winning penalty.
Ricardo now, what a story this will be! The goalkeeper saved and scored and won the game!
What a legend. But this next goalkeeper literally scared the crap out of his opponent. When Mason Holgate was about to take his penalty, the goalkeeper gave him a death stare. It was so intense you could see the fear in Mason's eyes. It's either he conjured some spirits, or he looked right into the player's mind. I can't believe Mason just kicked the ball at him like that. But all he did was scare his opponent, unlike Joe Hart, who asked to take a penalty. While Man City were losing a penalty shootout to AS Roma, Joe Hart asked his coach to take a penalty kick. Amazingly, the coach allowed him to take it, and he blasted the ball into the roof of the net like prime CR7. But when it was time for him to do his goalkeeper duties, he started laughing at Keita as he was preparing to take his spot kick. Thinking it was a joke, Keita smiled back, but Hart kept telling him he knew where he would play it. Like a cat out of a bag, he dived to his right to block the penalty kick.
Keita, Joe Hart did know!
We feel your pain, Keita. That was just unbelievable. And with that, we've made it to our top 5. Let's kick it off with a tale of revenge between Bruno and Haaland. Yassine Bruno guessed correctly and blocked Haaland's penalty. While trying to celebrate the save, he ran after Haaland shouting and mocking him. Unfortunately, karma hit him immediately, and Haaland was asked to retake the penalty after a VAR check. Wait, is he going to play it on the same side? Yeah, he does! And then goes to celebrate in front of the goalkeeper. Now that's how you be petty. But what this next player did misled the goalkeeper and the fans in the stadium. He ran like he was about to blast the ball into the net, but completely fooled the goalkeeper by kicking it with his other leg. I don't know what penalty style this is. Maybe you could tell me in the comments. But I know this next player has magical powers. When the opposition player was about to take his penalty, the guy in green points towards the penalty area and jumps. Shockingly, the opposition runs to the ball and does the same thing. Now, I don't want to sound crazy or anything, but was the player in green giving his keeper a hint? Or was he controlling his opponents using magical powers? One thing I know for sure, research helped Jordan Pickford get in the minds of his opponents. Anytime Jordan Pickford is in a penalty shootout, he always carries along a water bottle. To everybody, it looks like he just wants a sip of water. But when you take a closer look, it's filled with information about the penalty stats of his opponents. He used it against the US national team, Liverpool, and most recently against Switzerland in the Euros. He wrote on his bottle, "Dive left," for the Swiss captain Manuel Akanji. Sure enough, he did dive left to block the penalty, which ultimately sent England into the semis. But the craziest penalty mind game I have ever seen was when a goalkeeper tricked Benzema not once, but twice in one game. Back in the 2021-2022 season, Karim Benzema was in the form of his life. He kept scoring goal after goal as he hunted down the Ballon d'Or. but nothing could have prepared him for what the Osasuna goalkeeper did to him. In the 51st minute of the game, they gave away a penalty, and Benzema stepped up to take it.
Osasuna stay just one goal behind. Up steps Benzema, and he saved it!
Sergio Herrera pretended he was diving to the right, but dived to the left to block the penalty. 7 minutes later, Real Madrid was given another penalty, and this time Benzema was not going to fall for this keeper's tricks. So, when Herrera pointed to the left again, Benzema played it to the right, but the keeper blocked it.
Behind Real Madrid.
He is right.
Up steps Benzema, saved it!
And he saves it again.
Damn. I know deja vu is real, but I've never seen it happen this fast. Benzema became the first player to miss 2 penalties in a La Liga game since 2006. But hey, getting fooled by a goalkeeper is better than playing your best game and the next second just... Let's see what happened. But here are the most shocking times football players almost died. And for Lionel Messi, a football match that almost cost him everything. When Lionel Messi woke up that morning, he knew it wasn't a normal match. Because just 2 weeks earlier, Barcelona had suffered an embarrassing first-leg loss against Juventus in the Champions League. And with his teammates and fans all counting on him, Messi took this game personally. But as the match started, things didn't go according to plan. And in Messi's desperation to save his name, he attacked every ball with aggression. But in the 40th minute, this happened. This was a scary thing to see. And to make matters worse, doctors said if it landed just a few millimeters sideways, that fall would have cost him his life. Wow. All I can say is Messi's a very lucky man. To think this is just the beginning, you're in for some shocking stories, because still to come in our top 3 picks is one of the GOATs driving against traffic and an accident that almost destroyed a great football player before he could kick a ball. But before that, let's look at a guy who doesn't run from death, but death runs from him. Arguably football's most interesting character, Zlatan Ibrahimovic is what you'd call a man who believes in his abilities a little too much. For a guy who calls himself a god, surely he doesn't follow the rules. And it was during one of these rule-breaking episodes that something crazy happened. Zlatan was driving around Malmo town in his Ferrari and decided to park illegally in typical Zlatan style. Unfortunately for him, this behavior got a very dangerous man angry. Peter Mang, a Swedish serial killer, saw Zlatan's Ferrari parked on the pavement and decided he needed to shoot the footballer for such irresponsible behavior. He quickly rushed to get his gun at home, but upon getting back, Zlatan was gone. Damn, what could have been? Maybe Zlatan is clairvoyant. Thankfully, Mangs was arrested and sentenced to prison, but unlike Zlatan, this next player never saw this attack coming. Over 13,000 excited Danish and Finnish fans gathered at the National Stadium for a match between Denmark and Finland. But little did they know, it was about to be one of the darkest days in their lives. 43 minutes into the match, Christian Eriksen received a throw-in and immediately fell to the ground. Play continued, but when he didn't stand up, it became obvious something was wrong. Very wrong. Some Danish players, then Finland's goalkeeper, and the referee all rushed to Eriksen's rescue. Then, the team of doctors quickly rushed onto the field and brought out a defibrillator, that thing that doctors use to shock people back to life. It was at this point everyone knew how bad the situation was. Some fans began crying, and a stadium so noisy suddenly became completely silent. After one of the longest 20 minutes in football history, Eriksen was finally taken off the pitch on a stretcher with his eyes open. Phew. But, you see, not everyone is as lucky, because the next footballer was given only 2 choices: stop playing football or die. Having played and won trophies for AC Milan and PSG, and now at age 39 at Chelsea, Thiago Silva has had an amazing football career and will retire as one of the greatest defenders of his generation. But when he was just 20 years old, he caught a virus that almost cost him everything. Back then, he was struggling for form at FC Porto and had a persistent cough that just wouldn't go away. So his club decided to send him out on loan at Dynamo Moscow. It was there they discovered he had tuberculosis. He spent 6 months treating the virus without any significant improvement. So, as a last resort, the doctors gave him two choices: undergo surgery on his lungs, which would end his football career, or die. Because of his love for football, Silva chose the other option, and then got a TB specialist. Little by little, he got better, and after 1 year without playing football, he got back on the pitch. But still, getting threatened by your doctors is not as scary as the cartel putting a target on your back. Over the past 15 years, Angel Di Maria has been one of Argentina's most skillful and consistent players. A native of Rosario, just like Lionel Messi, he directly contributed to the Copa America and World Cup wins of the Argentina national team. At 36 now, and after having such a great career, he's considered a hero in his country. Or is he? Recently, Di Maria announced his intention to see out his career playing for his hometown club, Rosario Central. But instead of excitement and jubilation, a car dropped this message at his family residence in Rosario. Tell your son Angel not to come back to Rosario, because we will kill a family member. Not even Puyaro is going to save you. We don't leave paper notes. We leave bullets and dead people behind. Damn, what did he do to get the bad guys this upset? But just like Di Maria, you're warned not to leave this video, because still to come in our top 3 picks is a footballer who drove against traffic and crashed, and an accident that almost killed a footballer when he was 4 months old. But before then, let's look at this group of players who died and came back to life, starting with this guy. Fabrice Muamba wasn't exactly a superstar footballer. He didn't have the skills and charisma to impress fans, but he was good enough to play at Arsenal, Birmingham City, and Bolton Wanderers. And it was at Bolton that an unfortunate event cost him everything. During the FA Cup match between Bolton and Tottenham, Muamba suddenly collapsed on the pitch. At first, other players didn't understand how bad the situation was, but as continued struggling, it became obvious he needed help. For 6 minutes, medics tried to get him breathing again. They performed CPR and used the defibrillator to keep him alive. But once noisy stadium became completely quiet.
Say this looks increasingly serious. Now the name of the player is being chanted.
But as he was being taken off the field, both sets of fans chanted his name. The match was abandoned, and it was later confirmed he had suffered a cardiac arrest. After an intense battle, Muamba miraculously survived sudden death, but was forced to retire at the young age of 24.
Within about a couple of seconds, I looked at you, then bang. That was the last time I was able to play football again.
Just like this guy, whose case was so bad, he couldn't even announce his retirement. Abdelak Nouri was one of the brightest prospects in the Ajax team. And with the club famed for producing stars, it was obvious Nouri was headed straight for the top. But then, something tragic happened that took everything away from him. During a friendly match between Ajax and Werder Bremen, Nouri collapsed on the pitch and was rushed to the hospital. The doctors confirmed he suffered a cardiac attack and went into a coma at just 20 years old. Hours turned into days, days into months, and months into years. He remained in a coma for 2 years, 8 months, and 19 days. When he woke up, it was confirmed he suffered severe brain damage and couldn't communicate properly. Bringing his promising football career to a sad end. But for this next footballer, his near-death experience came at the end of his career. Iker Casillas is one of the most decorated goalkeepers to ever play the game. A Real Madrid and Spain national team legend, he won the La Liga, Champions League, World Cup, and Euros, and is considered by many to be the greatest goalkeeper of all time. After such an amazing career, Casillas decided to see out his remaining days as a goalkeeper playing for FC Porto. But it was at the Portuguese team that something shocking happened. News came in that the legendary goalkeeper had collapsed during training and had been rushed to the hospital for emergency surgery. It was later confirmed he'd suffered a heart attack, but was in stable condition. That was a close call. Surely these heart attacks have to stop. But does it? Tom Lockyer was living the dream, having guided Luton Town back to the Premier League as captain. What was supposed to be a fairy tale season turned into a nightmare. During the match between Bournemouth and Luton, Tom Lockyer collapsed on the pitch from an apparent heart attack. Thankfully, the medics quickly rushed and stabilized him. But what's even more crazy is that he had a similar heart attack just 7 months before that episode. After recovering, this is what he said.
But for me, I was just living it and almost feel that everyone watching it, and especially my family, have almost had it worse than I have.
Your heart stopped?
Yeah, so after what happened in May, I have a little recording device under the chest, and yeah, 2 minutes 40 I was out for, and yeah, I needed to have the defib to shock me back. And
wow, he was literally dead for 2 minutes and 40 seconds. He should just retire at this point. But you see, all these players nearly died on the pitch, unlike this next footballer, whose life got saved off it. Lilian Thuram was a powerful and versatile defender in his prime. He was part of the France World Cup winning squad in 1998 and notably played for Parma, Juventus, and Barcelona. Age 36, Thuram wanted to leave Barcelona and return to his native France. Fortunately, Paris Saint-Germain came calling. While conducting medical tests, a crucial piece of information was discovered that ultimately saved his life. Months before this transfer, Thuram's brother collapsed at a basketball court and died of a cardiac arrest. So, while carrying out tests on Thuram, the doctors discovered he had the same condition that killed his brother, and had he continued playing football, he would have died. Damn, 2 brothers dying from the same condition would have been crazy. But Thuram immediately retired from active football. Unlike him, leaving this video right now wouldn't be a wise move, because still to come in our top 3 picks is a player that a Ferrari almost and an almost fatal traffic offense. But before then, let me clear the air on something. Most of you feel celebrities have an army protecting them 24/7, or they aren't exposed to the same risks everyone faces daily. Well, you're wrong, because for this next group of players, death came too close to home, starting with this footballer. After a toxic breakup with Arsenal, Aubameyang finally secured a dream move to Barcelona. All was finally well with the world, but his joy was soon turned into darkness. On the 29th of August 2022, news broke out that Aubameyang was the victim of a violent robbery at his Barcelona home. The robbers asked Aubameyang and his wife to lie down in front of their terrified kids. They hit him in the face with an iron bar, and his wife suffered a blow to the head. Luckily, no one was, as the robbers stole all their jewelry. But unlike Aubameyang, who had no one to protect him, this next footballer's life was saved by his bodyguard. Teammate. While playing at Arsenal, Mesut Ozil wasn't on the big side. He looked very slender and was often described as lazy. Maybe that's why some guys decided that Ozil could be easily robbed and came for him. What happened next shocked everyone, including the robbers. They probably didn't expect Kolasinac to be there, but my goodness, look at him fight like a pro boxer. No wonder they call him the Bosnian Hulk. But unlike Ozil, this next footballer didn't have any superhero to save him. During the COVID-19 pandemic, everyone was at home, isolating, rewatching old movies, and making challenge videos with heads full of hair. But for former Tottenham player Dele Alli, something sad happened. 2 men broke into his house where he and his partner lived, beat them both up, and held Ali at knife point. The robbers went away with thousands of dollars worth of jewelry and another terrifying ordeal. Surely these footballers should be more protected, but are they? When Donnarumma signed for French champions Paris Saint-Germain, he must have been excited. After all, he was going to play football in the city of love. But what happened in 2023 shows that some people in this city had hearts full of evil. One night, Donnarumma and his girlfriend suddenly woke up to find armed robbers in their home. The guys beat him up and tied him. His girlfriend was forced to give up everything valuable they had, while he was tied up helpless and unable to do anything. The robbers went away with over $500,000 worth of valuables. Despite the trauma, the couple had to stay in a hotel to allow police to carry out investigations. It's just so sad. If only Donnarumma was like this next player, who made sure his attackers only left with a swollen face. Upon signing for Arsenal, Brazilian defender Gabriel probably thought he was just going to learn English, party a little, and play his football. But things don't always go to plan, and soon enough Gabriel found himself auditioning for the UFC. One evening, he and his friend went out for a drive in London. On their way back, Gabriel didn't notice they were being followed. As soon as they drove into the car park, this happened.
It has been revealed by the Metropolitan Police, which shows Arsenal defender Gabriel being targeted by armed attackers in August. Gabriel fought off the two men as they attempted to steal his car. The man with the baseball bat, Abdurrahman Muse, was jailed for 5 years last month.
Obviously, it's not a nice thing to go through when you have family involved and they are trying to access your own house. Gabi showed a lot of character. You see the reaction that he had straight away, ready to the boy. And after that, he was fine. Obviously, he was shocked. Obviously, there are a few things that he wanted to change in his life to try to prevent those things happening. And the club gave him all the support that he was needed to try to forget about the situation, learn from it, and move on.
Look at him, fight the guy off like a pro fighter. These robbers chose the wrong footballer to mess with. But unlike this bad guy, you don't want to run off now. Because from here on, it's footballers escaping death at 200 miles an hour. Starting with one of the greatest footballers of all time. He's not a great driver though. For a guy who scored over 850 goals and tallied 250 assists, it's hard to argue that Cristiano Ronaldo is arguably the greatest footballer of all time. But before he became the global superstar he is today, something crazy happened that could have changed his future. While at Manchester United, Ronaldo had just bought a new Ferrari and decided to test its speed on his way to training. So while driving through a tunnel, disaster struck. Cristiano Ronaldo ran his Ferrari into the tunnel wall. When the images of the crash became public, it was hard to believe the driver of the car was unharmed. But Ronaldo survived the crash without a single scratch. What's even crazier is that he still went to training that day, despite what had just happened. But for this next footballer, getting out of his car became a problem. Former Tottenham player Marcus Edwards has been enjoying life in the Portuguese league. Since signing for Sporting Lisbon, he's quickly established himself as a starter in the team. Ahead of their trip to Italy for the Europa League group game against Atalanta, the players were called in for one final training session before they traveled. On his way to the stadium, something terrible happened.
एक्सीडेंट हुआ है रेंज रोवर डिफेंडर का। जब एक्सीडेंट होना हो ना तो भाई कितनी सेफ कार ले लो, एक्सीडेंट होगा और कुछ ऐसा हाल हो जाता है। हालांकि ड्राइवर और जो लोग अंदर बैठे थे वो लोग सेव है। थैंक्स फॉर वाचिंग।
Emergency services responded to the site of an accident and discovered the Sporting CP ringer trapped in his vehicle. They found his car flipped on its side with Edwards still in it. Miraculously, he was still unharmed but visibly shaken by what had happened. There's something about players crashing on their way to training. But before you start thinking of some crazy curse, you don't want to miss this, because it's time for our top 3 picks, starting with a childhood dream gone wrong. While growing up, everyone has that one car they see and are like, I want to buy that car when I grow up. For Neymar, that dream car was a Ferrari 458 Spider. In 2015, Neymar was playing the best football of his career and decided to reward himself with something he'd always dreamed of. He splashed over 200 grand on that car and celebrated on Instagram by saying, "Thank God for giving me health. And with the fruit of my labor, I fulfill another childhood dream." But in 2016, this prized possession almost cost him everything. On his way to training, Neymar was showing off his new Ferrari and suddenly, disaster struck. Thankfully, he got out of the car uninjured and was able to play in the next game. But he wouldn't even be a footballer today if the worst had happened in this next crash. Neymar Jr. was a sensational player in his prime. With his tricks and unbelievable skills, he was just a joy to watch. But Neymar would have never been a footballer if not for a miraculous survival when he was just 4 months old. Neymar Sr., his wife Didn, and their son, Neymar Jr., were visiting relatives. While traveling on a steep mountain, heavy rain began to fall. So heavy, you could barely see out of the car. While trying to navigate this dangerous situation, their worst fear happened. Recalling the event, Neymar's father said this: "I was with Didn in the front, and our son was in the baby chair in the back seat. A car came towards me. I tried to swerve, but it hit us, full on my door side. My left leg landed on top of the other, dislocating my hip bone. I was desperate and said to my wife, 'I'm dying.' But my worst fear beyond the pain was the sensation that followed. Where's Junior? We couldn't find Neymar Jr. We thought the force of the impact had thrown him out of the car. I shudder every time I remember the moment. But who believes in God has faith. The people who rescued us found our son under the seat of the car." Damn, at 4 months! To think death almost robbed us of this exceptional player is scary. But even this is not as scary as our number 1 pick. Diego Maradona is without question the most controversial footballer to ever play the game. His crazy lifestyle equally matched his insane ability on the pitch, off it. But perhaps his greatest problem was his struggle with. In January 2000, Maradona traveled to Cuba for rehab, and it was there that something crazy happened. On this fateful day, it was raining heavily at night in Havana, and Maradona decided it was the best time to go for a drive. But instead of driving the right way, Maradona decided to drive against oncoming traffic. Inevitably, he had a head-on collision with a tourist bus.
Tonight, that bus earlier today that flipped over, the other car involved in the crash was towed away just about 30 minutes ago. Now, APD tells us this crash happened all because of speed racing. Now, this was what the scene looked like earlier today.
He was pinned inside the car with his legs stuck under the steering wheel until rescue workers arrived. Luckily, he and the other passenger in the car suffered minor injuries and no broken bones. But damn, what could have made him behave like this? But still, you think this was emotional? How about watching your whole team die? Or a stadium crash that resulted in a tragedy.
Newcastle will hold a minute's silence before the game following the death of their former winger Christian Atsu in the devastating earthquakes in Turkey.
Or something so sad, you can't hold your tears. Yeah, these are the most emotional moments in football history. We start with 2 players who witnessed the most horrible thing of their lives while on board a plane to play finals in a football league.
Eu não quis sair dali. Aí eu vi o Foma, olhar para ele, ele insistiu para eu sentar com ele.
The celebrations of this Brazilian team took a turn for the worse when they onboarded Lemia Flight 2933 in 2016, not knowing what awaited them. Chapecoense had recently qualified for the finals of Copa Sudamericana and were flying from Brazil to Medellin. The clips of their celebration made their way to social media, but before they could play in the finals, the flight crashed.
The deadly plane crash, the images of that team celebrating along the way on their journey. But then the flight overnight crashing. Nearly everyone on board was... The flight was carrying a Brazilian soccer team to a finals match, crashing on a hillside in Colombia. And we have just learned here what happened right before that crash.
And along with 52 other passengers, 19 Brazilian footballers met a tragic end. Luckily, 6 people were somehow found outside the plane near the crash site and survived. Among them were these 2 players who survived the crash, but had to watch their whole team perish before them.
Quando eu acordei e aí veio esse psicólogo e com os doutores, junto com os doutores da Colômbia, aí o psicólogo falou: ó, Jackson, seu avião caiu, o avião de vocês caiu, fez boom, você perdeu a perna, não vai poder mais jogar futebol.
Next, how would you like to live with the guilt of sending someone forcefully on their last flight? On January 21st, 2019, when Argentinian footballer Emiliano Sala and his pilot David Didn were seen at Nantes Atlantic Airport checking in to board their flight. No one knew the tragic route their plane would take. No one, except for maybe Didn.
David Ibbotson raised concerns about the plane.
I picked a footballer up from Cardiff. He's just been bought from Nantes. I think it's about £20 million worth or something. They've entrusted me to pick him up in a dodgy garage. Normally have my life jacket in your seats, but tomorrow we're wearing the life jacket, that's for sure. This aircraft, I think it's got to go back in the hangar. Might be your last chance to have a good old chat with me in a good old boat tomorrow. Normally have my life jacket
This was the pilot of the flight showing his concerns to his friends over the status of the plane he was about to fly, taking Sala to his new team. The footballer was making his move from Nantes to Cardiff, but he didn't want to leave his hometown. He made the decision under immense pressure from his family, coach, and mentors, and hopped on the plane. Because of the language barrier, Sala couldn't communicate properly with his pilot. But even he had fears that he shared with his family over a voice message.
Hermanitos, ¿cómo andan loquitos locos? Hermano, estoy muerto.
Así que nada, muchachos. Estoy acá arriba del avión que parece que se está poca de a pedazo. 1 hora y media no tiene novedades mías. No sé si van a mandar a alguien a buscarme porque no me van a encontrar, pero ya saben. Papá, qué miedo que tengo.
Unfortunately, all of his fears turned out to be true. The plane disappeared from radar with no contact with anyone on board. The entire football world was in shock. Many football stars, including Kylian Mbappe, raised nearly $540,000 to fund a private search for Sala. Everyone was hoping for good news, but 2 weeks later, their worst fears were confirmed. The wreckage of the plane was found 220 feet below the water, with Sala's body inside. David Ibbotson's body was never recovered. Just hours before the crash, the very last photograph Sala posted on his Instagram page was captioned, La Ultima Ciao, the last goodbye, which, tragically, turned out to be true. But that caption is just as good as Luka Lukashvili's magically moving hands. Thankfully, Luka Lukashvili's one clever move saved us from another heartbreaking goodbye. You see, Austria Vienna's George Teigl was knocked unconscious after suffering a head injury from a brutal collision. He swallowed his tongue and fell right on the ground with everyone waiting for the paramedics to come, but not Luka Lukashvili. Within a blink of an eye, he shoved his hand into Teigl's mouth and stopped him from choking to death. Luckily, Teigl regained consciousness and was taken to a local hospital where our hero Luka was honored with the FIFA Fair Play Award for his life-saving actions. But no amount of life-saving efforts were enough to save this next aspiring football player. In 2023, an earthquake hit Turkey like nothing ever before. The casualties and losses were incalculable. And while the media was filled with these devastating headlines, the fate of former English Premier League player Christian Atsu was hanging in doubt.
Atsu had been missing since the earthquake devastated southern Turkey on the 6th of February. His family had gathered near his home in Antakya, but after 2 weeks of searching, their hope ran out.
Atsu was playing for Hatayspor in the Turkish Super League and was scheduled to fly out of the area hours before the earthquake hit, but stayed after scoring the winning goal in a match the day before. He was last seen in his house, which became a pile of rubble after the earthquake. Search and rescue teams tirelessly sought signs of him, while fans clung to hope for positive news. But it was not to be. Atsu's body was discovered under the rubble of his house. His agent confirmed the heartbreaking news of his passing. His former teammates mourned his loss. May his soul rest in peace.
Newcastle will hold a minute's silence before the game following the death of their former winger Christian Atsu in the devastating earthquakes in Turkey and Syria.
Very difficult day. To wake up to that news was devastating for me, everyone associated with Newcastle, everyone who knew Christian. As you say, it puts everything into perspective. We're devastated for him and his family.
But hey, I feel like things are getting a little sadder in this video, and before it spirals out of control, how about something wholesome? And there's nothing more wholesome than fighting for your little fan. Christian Pulisic was on fire in Borussia Dortmund vs. Liverpool. But hear me out. The real drama happened after the match. A young fan made a dash from the stands, sprinting towards Pulisic to grab a quick selfie with his hero, but enter security. Before the kid could even properly reach him, the guard took him away. But not before Pulisic watched the whole thing. I love how one of the Dortmund managers is just plainly fighting with the guard. But hey, how about that time Tottenham defenders stopped a match in between play and the refs just agreed with them? The match between Newcastle and Tottenham Hotspur was stopped by the Tottenham defenders, Sergio Reguilón and Eric Dyer, who had no idea exactly what was happening in the stands, but they knew it was bad. Dyer quickly alerted the medical staff, and it became clear the fan was having a heart attack. The referee immediately stopped the game, and the players were led to an area under the stands. For 20 tense minutes, doctors worked hard to save that fan's life, and thankfully, they succeeded. The patient was then taken to the hospital for further care. The Newcastle crowd applauded the Tottenham players for their quick actions. Post-match, when they were asked about the incident, Reguilón, my guy, explained it quite humbly.
I saw one guy lying down, and one man is doing like this. I was very nervous. I went to the referee. I said, "Referee, look this. We cannot play like this. Stop the match." And the referee and the linesman looked there and stop the match. Now I think it's okay, right? The guy's okay.
We hear he's in a
That's the more important than everything. That is more important.
One of football's most tragic events happened when a helicopter took off from a stadium and crashed 2 minutes later. This crash right here led to the most shocking news ever to come out of a football stadium.
The BBC has been told the owner of Leicester City Football Club was on board the helicopter that crashed and burst into flames just minutes after taking off from the King Power Stadium last night.
Reports later showed everything was working fine on the helicopter until suddenly the control shaft, which keeps it balanced, broke. It sent the copter spiraling out of control just above the roof of the stadium. Honestly, everything happened so fast, it's hard to even wrap your head around it. The aftermath scenes were heartbreaking, and no one on board survived the crash. The owner of Leicester City Football Club, Wichaisi Wadanaprapa, along with 2 staff members and 2 pilots, all gone in an instant. It was such a tragedy that brought the whole community together. Fans placed memorials outside the stadium,
it's just terrible because they're such nice people, really genuine, humble people that care for the community and for the club and the people. It's just terrible.
Just thoughts of everybody on board, you know, the pilots, the family, everybody. It's just the thoughts are for them and their families, really, first thing.
And when Jamie Vardy, Leicester's star player, showed up to pay his respects, he couldn't hold back his tears. Leicester's players played their next game to honor their owner.
55 on the clock, and how much does this goal mean to Demarai Gray and Leicester City Football Club?
But that was not it. After the match, the team flew 6,000 miles to Bangkok for the owner's funeral. And man, when they all greeted Wichai's son, standing and mourning his father, it just doesn't get any sadder than that. Back in 2011, Jody Lukaku was Amsterdam's shining star, a winger with speed, charisma, and an eye for goals. But as the years passed, he struggled to maintain that momentum.
Nou, je laatste keer bij Ajax, want ik lees allemaal geruchten dat je verhuurd wil worden of verkocht wil worden. Wat zijn jouw plannen?
Dat weet ik nog niet. Beide opties zijn bespreekbaar. Verhuren, verkopen, bij Ajax blijven. Alles is bespreekbaar, dus ik zie het wel.
Bouncing from one team to another across the Netherlands, Bulgaria, and Turkey. Then, in 2021, it seemed like fate was giving him a second chance to shine when he decided to return to Dutch football with Twente. But that happiness was short-lived. A devastating knee injury shattered his dreams. And if that wasn't enough, things took a darker turn when he attended a family party and got into a physical fight with his own cousins and their friends. The punches he took were brutal, leaving him battered and bruised. He was taken to the hospital with knee and head pain. After amputations and being put in an artificial coma, he died of a cardiac arrest at the age of 29 at a hospital in Almere. Fans gathered at Twente Stadium to honor the former Ajax player, but emotions ran high when his young son stepped onto the field, his tiny steps echoing through the silence.
Vandaag is zo'n dag. Zo'n dag waar je met gemengde gevoelens naar een voetbalwedstrijd gaat kijken. Want het zal u vast niet...
Twente players and staff, some with tears, gathered around him.
Jody Lukaku is overlijk bericht voor de hele voetbalwereld, maar ook in het bijzonder voor alles en iedereen dat Twente een warm hart en de rest is geschiedenis.
Man, it's hard to watch. But do us a favor, if you're learning anything by watching this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Unless you want to end up like Lionel Messi in this next clip. During the Copa America final in 2016, it looked like Messi took all the blame for losing when he missed his penalty against Chile.
Argentina last summer, he went to the left of Claudio Bravo and scored. Bravo, 6'1", made. Can Messi put Argentina in front? He missed it!
The dreams of lifting the trophy for Argentina shattered when Messi's side lost in penalties. While Chilean players celebrated their victory, Argentines were crying, and rightly so. It was a tough blow to absorb, but then came another final of Copa America in 2021, and this time, Messi's side was ready.
Argentina are champions of South America. Neymar and Messi embrace. Finally comes to an end. In tears as well, not just on the pitch.
Messi and Neymar sharing a hug became the talk of the town. Wait, no. It became the talk of the world, actually. At least these two legends had each other to hug. Because my guy Vinicius Jr., just 18, had to go through this pain of a career-ending injury alone. Considered one of the best players in the world, Vinicius was known for his pace, finishing, and dribbling ability. He was injured when he took a shot against Ajax, with tears welling up in his eyes. He wasn't ready to leave the field. Luckily for him and all his fans, his injury was not career-threatening. When he came back and scored his first goal, his celebrations told everyone just how much he missed being on the field and how much football means to him.
Whether it does or not, the end result is the same. It's in the back of the net. 1-0.
Vinicius just had an injury to overcome. Danish star Christian Eriksen proved seasoned cardiologists wrong. In May 2021, Eriksen suffered a cardiac arrest in the 42nd minute of Denmark's first game of the European Championship against Finland. And the Danish fans' cheers quickly turned to tears as they watched their best midfielder fight for his life. Players and referees swiftly formed a circle around Eriksen to block the cameras. The whole stadium fell into a deadly silence. In those critical moments, Captain Simon Kjær rose to the occasion and repositioned Eriksen's tongue to prevent him from choking on it and started CPR until the medical team arrived. While doctors worked to revive him, Kjær comforted Eriksen's wife, Sabrina. After 15 intense minutes, Eriksen was carried out of the stadium and rushed to the hospital. After that, some thought his career was over. The world anxiously waited for good news, and thankfully, the hospital confirmed that Eriksen was alive and well. Fans from all around the globe sent him flowers, encouraging the player to keep fighting. And then, after a long wait of 259 days, Eriksen was back on the pitch for the second time. There were many teary eyes in the stadium that day. That reminds me of Dario Asugo, who cried tears of happiness when he stepped on the field as the youngest player in Sporting Lisbon's history. That day, the football world welcomed a kid on his way to greatness. And, well, no one can forget the time when an equally great legend was laid to rest. In 2020, Diego Maradona, known as the Golden Boy, died. And as much as we'll miss him for his insane goals and dribbling skills, there's one person who'll miss him for the person and father he was, his daughter Dalma. The pair used to cheer together for Boca Juniors, and when the team dedicated a goal to Maradona after his demise, Dalma couldn't help but cry. Showing how much her dad meant to her. And if tears are meant to show love, then Jermaine Defoe definitely proved his love for this little mascot suffering from cancer.
Very sad news. You'll all remember Bradley Lowery, who was the Sunderland fan, who was a mascot for Sunderland quite a few times last season. We know that he was best friends with Jermaine Defoe. We saw Jermaine Defoe break down in his news conference at Bournemouth yesterday because Bradley's condition was deteriorating. He suffered from neuroblastoma.
For English player Defoe, this cute little kid was no less than a son and best friend. It was evident from his breakdown at a news conference.
Into perspective. I mean, there's not a day that goes past where, where I don't wake up in the morning and sort of like check my phone or think about little Bradley, because his love's genuine and I can see it in his eyes when he looks at me. So it's just, it's special, so yeah.
The young Sunderland fan who became a beloved mascot for the team suffered from neuroblastoma, a rare cancer. With his innocence, Bradley touched the hearts of many, especially Defoe. And when he died, the news broke the hearts of all his fans, including Defoe and mine. May his soul rest in peace, and may he keep playing football in the heavens. Just like Frank Lampard continued playing even when he was on the verge of giving up. Yes, Frank lost his mother in 2008, but he turned that pain into gain for Chelsea when he scored a goal that helped Chelsea get into their first ever European Cup.
Big fan in particular. Lampard scores! And that is something special!
He broke down after that goal and dedicated the win to his mother. Speaking of cups and finals, I just remembered the insane frustration of Chelsea players when they lost their chance at a final, all because of one man working against them. Chelsea was facing Barcelona in the 2009 Champions League semi-finals. The first leg, a snoozer, which ended in a dull draw. So everything was riding on the second leg in Stamford Bridge. And bam!
Lampard looking to pull it back.
Just 9 minutes in, Essien decides to rock the world with an absolute banger. Chelsea fans, they're going bonkers, of course. But then, referee Tom Henning-Overbo becomes public enemy number 1 for Chelsea supporters, denying them not 1, not 2, but 4 clear penalties.
To keep that one in, he was really caught by surprise then. Good play by Maneuver, he goes down. Really think this in. Drogba does smash. Lampard has helped him through, and Drogba controls. He's gone down, the referee looked at his linesman, and they're gone here. Anelka, is that handball against PK? The referee says no. Does he move hand? Terry, Eto broke from him. He's gone down. Red shirt as Lampard takes the corner and was up there and got ahead to it. Well, it has a rattle uphill handball, fronts him out in his direction. Just as he got into the rest of the night, any penalty appeared in his direction.
Despite dominating the game, Chelsea's lead is only 1 goal. And don't forget, this was the time when away goals counted, which meant Barcelona only needed 1 goal to send Chelsea packing. And in the 93rd minute, Iniesta scored that dagger of a goal.
Eto broke from him, but it's Iniesta! And the Chelsea cover their eyes in horror. 2 from time, and it's heartbreak at Stamford Bridge.
Wait, that goal shouldn't have counted because of an alleged handball by Barcelona's Samuel Eto'o, but the ref failed to notice it and awarded the goal. After the final whistle, Chelsea fans were upset. And not to mention Didier Drogba, who confronted the ref for his outright brutal blunders.
From Norway is the strongest official you can put. This is supposed to.
What happened with Chelsea at Stamford Bridge is easily the most painful exit in the history of football. But it's nothing compared to losing a life. Dying on the field you love playing on. I don't know if it's tragic or an honor. It was a normal match between Dynamo Bucharesti and Viitorul Constanța in 2016 when Patrick Ekang, a Cameroonian professional footballer, collapsed on the field just 7 minutes after coming on as a substitute. No one knew at the time, but he never got up. It was a tragic demise, the cause of which turned out to be a heart attack. Now from an unexpected medical episode to being targeted just because of your fame. Just ask Tottenham Hotspur midfielder Dele Alli. After buying a luxurious mansion and flashy rides, he thought he was on top of the world. But then, Premier League players started to fall victim to robberies. Dele brushed that off. I mean, just look at his security. He's got fences and a warning sign. Well, that wasn't enough to stop those robbers at all. One night, armed robbers invaded his home while he was with his partner, and at knife point, they robbed him of all the gold they could find in that $1 million mansion. This left Ali with a black eye, £350,000 dent, and unable to train for weeks.
Good morning. The England midfielder Dele Alli is held at knife point during a burglary at his home. Jewellery was stolen and Ali punched during the incident at his house in North London.
I'm glad he made it out of that situation alive. But Messi and his whole squad wouldn't have escaped certain death if it weren't for 18 minutes. In 2016, the Argentine squad faced a crushing 3-0 loss in the World Cup qualifiers. After leaving the stadium, they hurried to board the Avro RJ-85 airplane. Initially, everything seemed routine, but 4 hours into the flight, the plane ran out of fuel. Suddenly, the entire team and club staff were in grave danger as the fuel gauge hit empty. The pilots tried frantically contacting airports or landing strips, but to no avail. No one was getting in contact with the cockpit crew, and panic set in as minutes passed, and the team clung to hope for dear life. Finally, someone responded, and with just 18 minutes left, the plane made a miraculous landing just in time. But forget minutes, because in the football world, all it takes are a mere 17 seconds to turn a star into shadow. Abdelkader Nouri was destined to do great things. I mean, the best in his field kind of great. I'm not kidding. It was evident from his time in Ajax's youth academy, which he joined at just 7 years old. He captained teams throughout his youth career. His positive personality earned him love from the entire club. People used to call him Appy. And when he made his debut on September 21st, 2016, alongside rising stars Matthijs de Ligt and Frankie de Jong, he was the brightest among all on the field.
Mag ik hem nemen? En de kleine Nouri mag het doen. En hij doet het!
On a summer day in Austria, during a friendly game, the 20-year-old midfielder suddenly collapsed because of cardiac arrest. It took the medics a critical 17 seconds to get on the field. This lapse led to severe, permanent brain damage, meaning Nouri would never play football again. Ajax later admitted that the initial medical response was not good enough. The news devastated Amsterdam.
En klopt voor Abdelhak Nouri. Daar staat zijn broer, daar staat zijn vader. Een hart.
Appy was loved by everyone and had thousands of fans, players, and staff gathering in front of his house to show their support and respect. The scene was filled with tears and emotions as the community rallied around Nouri and his family.
Hi Nouri, I'm Cristiano. It's just to wish you a happy birthday. I wish that you recover fast.
And I'm glad that at least no one tried to make a fortune out of his misery like one fan did with Messi. This might sound ridiculous, but after wearing Blaugrana jersey for 17 seasons, making the record appearances for the club, scoring the most goals, winning the most titles, having the most wins, our star Messi had to do the most difficult thing of his life. Officially ending things with Barcelona in a press conference. And one fan made $1 million off of it. Messi spent nearly 2 decades playing for Barcelona. The club was like a second home to him, and when he was forced to leave, he couldn't control his emotions.
Buen día. La verdad que no sé si va a poder hablar. En estos últimos días estuve pensando, dándole vuelta a ver qué iba a decir, qué podía decir. La verdad que no me salía nada. Estaba bloqueado, como no estoy ahora todavía. Es muy difícil esto para mí. Después de tantos años, no estaba preparado. Gracias a todo el mundo.
This was the time when his wife handed over a tissue for him to wipe his tears. Well, with so many emotions welling up, Messi had to use that tissue again and again, but he had no idea this tissue was going to make more headlines.